Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Good morning, America. We have a problem. A huge problem in this country. It's a lack of responsibility. I believe welfare is to blame. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but the older I get and the better I get at recognizing facial expressions and body language and vocalization, I gotta say this, that the people that wear all these tattoos and piercings and even getting their contact lens eye colors all crazied out and, hairdos and whatnot, dressing up like clowns, I'm getting to be able to do two things. One, realizing that that's definitely a symptom of mental illness, like big time, like, and I mean, if you could accept it and admit it, then, do what you want to do. But these people seem delusional, like they, like it's supposed to be there. And really, it seems to be boiling down to complaining, but just, like, check this out. Watch this. This is what got me going on this tangent. You gotta see this.
I am tired of being mistreated at medical facilities. I don't understand why it's so hard to simply treat people like humans. At the intake call, I told them I'm here for 3 reasons. I've been having heartburn and I want to get that checked out. I need a standard STD screening and I need a new X-ray for my back because I have scoliosis and it's been hurting worse lately. And so when I go into the doctor's office, we talk about my heartburn, we get that sorted. And then after that, I'm like, additionally, while I'm here, I need a standard STD screening. And he turns to me and he's like, you should have told me that at the beginning. Like, I already sent in the orders. Now I have to redo it. And I was like, so taken back. I was like, oh my gosh, well, I'm sorry to be an inconvenience to you. Like, I just saved.
Welcome to overburdened healthcare. Number one, she's taking it personal. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here. The assumption, the pronoun she. The guy was probably busy. Don't take it so damn personal. But we'll just keep going.
And I was like, oh, sorry, yeah, I'm actually here for 3 things. Like I said in the call, it should be in the notes maybe on my, profile or whatever in the computer. And after like 5 minutes of like doing whatever he does on the computer, he turns to me and he's like, you just had a screening in July. Like, why are you getting another one? And I was like, because I've had a new partner since then, and I just like to know my status.
Well, healthcare is not do it your way kind of thing anymore. So this guy's got to put in the chart somewhere, patient needs screening because of unprotected sex, or, something. The government's not going to pay, or the insurance company's not going to pay unless there's a reason to do it if you just had the test. You don't want to do the test and find out it's denied. It's a little more to it here than meets the eye. You need to have the grown-ups enter the room here.
The standard screening, it's normal to do it often. And he's like, well, are you having unsafe sex? And I was like, no, I am always safe, especially with, new partners, whatever. Like, why am I being slut-shamed for taking care of my body right now? And
she's not being slut-shamed. She just had the test. And he's got to have a reason to order the test. You can't just go, oh, I'm just going to order this test for fun. You're going to have to tell him, I had unprotected sex, I'm concerned. If you want the test, even if you didn't, he's got to have a reason to order the test.
That's a big problem with the healthcare system. As a side note, is insurance. You don't go in and pay for it. Somebody else is technically responsible for paying for it. So, even though your taxes ultimately due. But we all don't pay taxes. The poor people really don't pay much in taxes. Okay, but what I'm getting at is, if she was paying out of pocket for it, then the doctor would be happy to go ahead and give her another STD test this early, and there wouldn't be all this paperwork and arguing, and she'd have the responsibility, and he wouldn't have to ask questions. There wouldn't be any shame. Keep going.
That's otherwise going to go, why am I ordering this test? And the adults, again, need to enter the room and go, Here's how life works. In big boy life, right?
Made out to be an inconvenience, and I assumed what took so long and like part of why his whole demeanor and treatment of me changed after looking at the computer was because I think he saw that I'm trans, and then I go into the lab to, you know, get my blood drawn.
Oh, it's trans.
He doesn't care. You already look like a hassle, so you come in, you want an STD screening. You got a little bit of GERD, right? Okay, gives you some medication. You want an STD screening. All right, you just had one. Well, I want another one. Well, why? Like, I can't just order the test because you want it. Oh, no, I have safe sex. Then why are we having the test, right? Kind of complicated. Give him a reason. And then you ask for, oh, my back hurts. I want an x-ray. Alarm bells are going off. He's like, drug seeker, drug seeker. I'm telling you this from someone who lives and is very involved with people in healthcare. That's the first thing that alarm bells go off. It's nothing to do with her sexual orientation. He doesn't care. He's just trying to get you out.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I didn't really catch the drug seeker on the back x-ray thing.
The Office.
And the woman goes, oh, well, I'm supposed to be on my lunch break right now, so let me be right back. Maybe I can fit you in. And then she disappears for like 5 minutes. She comes back and she's like, okay, let's get this done. And I was like, I'm sorry this is inconvenience to everybody. It's what the time they gave me. I showed up at the time I was told to. I just want to be...
Like, white queers and white trans people.
Alright, it really is amazing how much she is complaining and screaming and yelling about something she's not paying out of pocket for. Something she's not responsible for paying. As entitlement, you know, mentality does. The other thing that really makes this whole situation messed up, and what I'm saying about this untreated mental illness that's delusional or schizophrenic or psychotic, but it's definitely not self-aware. Or maybe it is. See, and that's what that shame thing is all about. Okay, let's go back to the tax paying thing. And if she had to pay out of pocket, the doctor would be happy to do it, but she would be less inclined to do whatever it yeah. Anyway, that mentally deranged individual would be less inclined to continue doing bad behavior, negative, you know, addictive, abusive behavior that was causing the mental desire to go get checked for STDs again. Maybe even a physical need for it. That's regret. They're ashamed of what they did, but they don't have to pay for it. And they can sit here and yell and scream on this new TikTok platform, which I'm going to call TikTok. Other than, again, some of the people who use it to troll the crazy people. TikTok really is the platform for psychotics. So, the other thing I wanted to mention, too, again, was, one, if she had to pay for it, God, I gotta stop saying she, because it is a he that dresses like a she because they're mentally deranged and they won't get it fixed. And they can't handle the shame, so they take it out on everybody else. That might be a better direction to put it. Same with this video I saw on fatphobia. You know, let's check part of it out real quick. I won't play the whole thing because I think I'm getting my points made, but watch this.
It's honestly so pervasive. Like, I just went in, I'm getting COVID test, flu test. Medical fatphobia is honestly so pervasive. Like, I just went in, I'm getting COVID test, flu test, whatever, I'm feeling really bad. And they had to do a blood pressure test. You can't really see, but my arm is really red. Because they didn't have a blood pressure cuff that fit my arm. So in turn, first of all, it was painful. And second of all, they couldn't get an accurate read on my blood pressure. And this may just seem like a simple thing, but it's just so pervasive in the medical field.
Anyway, to continue. Alright. Whether fat phobia is real or not is in her head, to be honest with you. And this is what I'm going to say about this that's coming to me right now. You know who's fat phobic? She is. She's ashamed of it, but she's blaming everyone else because she can't handle it. That's a mental illness that needs to be treated or at least accepted, it says. And another thing is, again, we'll go back to that. If she had to pay out of pocket for the services, she might have a right to complain. Again, it's a lack of responsibility. I actually had legitimate issues with medical malpractice due to brain damage and my dissociative identity disorder, and my hyperactivity being so well to be able to push my developmental disability, out of public perspective. It was complicated, but I actually had a real reason to complain and real problems going on with the way I was being mistreated and mishandled, for real. Especially when I got more self-aware, and that's exactly what happened. I got responsible instead of continuing to scream and yell and complain and choosing to engage in destructive behavior. I took upon myself to do their job for them, basically, especially since I didn't have the capability to pay out of pocket. I am disabled. I have no choice but to rely on, the, Social Security that I paid into. That insurance policy, public insurance policy I paid into, is what I'm receiving from. It's not like I'm getting it for free, mind you. Especially after what happened to me. All the adults got away with it. And I've had a lot of trouble with, traumatic experiences with the police as a non-criminal, an innocent person. So, and including now, to, like I said, even when I go there, which I rarely have to do now because there's almost nothing that happens to me in my body that I can't figure out, explain, and handle. And if anything were to happen like that emergency style, two things. One, I've got the insurance now. You know what I'm saying? Legitimately. It's not like I'm just, floating around on everybody else's dime without doing anything to have gotten there. The entitlement thing. And that's, again, if you give these people things and it just makes that entitlement manifestation, that mental illness, worse. So, man, I sidestepped and just. Oh yeah, okay, and also let's say, okay, so what I do now, basically when I go to the hospital, unless it was like something gastrointestinal or, cardiac or something, something that that's out of my range of solving without another person, surgery, and the equipment. That's really the only reason why I've gone there in the last year or so. Isn't because I needed them to help me with my head. No, it was access to the equipment and maybe even emergency access to medication. In fact, I've even gone to the hospital and hooked myself up to the EKG machine and learned how to read it and operate it. Same with blood monitoring and everything else. I learned how to use the equipment, and when they wouldn't check me out, when I was complaining about arrhythmia and stuff while I'm in the emergency room or whatever, I literally just hooked the machine up, turn it on, and come back later, and I'd explain myself. I think once they unhooked it and I just hooked it back up again, and I guess they gave up because they realized I wasn't going to stop. And or no, they sent a doctor in, one of the nurses, and I said, "Look, doctor, you see this?" And sure enough, you can see like this. Every time I start to drift off into sleep, look what happens. Okay, I wasn't kidding when I said I need monitoring. I need to be hooked up to this machine, and you guys just ignore me. And the doctor left it hooked up and just double checked, make sure I knew what I was doing. So you see what I'm saying? There's more that can be done than just complaining. In fact, in that same hospital visit, or maybe it wasn't that one. I don't know. It's hard to say. I've been in there so many times for these things. Again, they won't help me solve. I've solved them on my own, and the only reason why I go in there now is, for the medication as well. I've gone in there, for the correct medication to turn this part of my brain off so I could fall asleep once in a while. Because, it it can really get bad. And again, if I could just go to the store and buy the medication, I wouldn't have to go to the emergency room, get myself Baker acted for 72 hours for inpatient, sit there argue for 18 hours, with the doctor about the legitimate need for it. And then, after they realize, again, looking at the EKG machine and the, and what I'm talking about and the fact that I really haven't slept. And, they're like, okay, well, we got to give it to you by injection. And I explained my phobia. One time they've allowed me to take the pills, and that was the best time ever. Because that doctor, I explained it to the doctor, and he, I guess he saw eye to eye with me. I was like, look, I've got a real phobia of hypodermic needles, injections. Even just seeing one, I'll start, my skin will start crawling, and, you go to stick it in me. Sometimes I have to bite myself to force distractions so that I can hold my other arm still, while I get injected. It's that bad. Now, that's really the last thing I need to be falling asleep to. You know what I mean? Especially if this is what's wrong with me. The doctor agreed. A couple minutes later, came back with the medication. A few minutes later, I was asleep like I should be. 18 hours later, I come back around, or 14 hours later, I think. I don't know. It was the next day, but I thought it had only been 4 hours, and they're like, oh no, you've been out, for, almost a day. And I was like, wow. It's nighttime? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, wow. Because again, this was right in the middle of the day that I had this done, I guess. It's hard to say. There's no windows in the emergency room. And the first thing they do when you go in there, tell them you need some, help, is take your phone and your clothes and put a police officer to sit there and watch you until they can transfer you down to inpatient, psychiatric treatment. But that's what you get for free. Although I actually paid for the neurologist to start this whole cascade of problems. He could have just been like, oh, you got these problems, go see a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist would have saw me and said, oh, you got these problems? Here's why it's happening, here's the medications, here's the therapies. And I probably still have a job and and doing something else, but that wasn't God's calling for my life. Ain't that crazy if I could just go to the store and buy it, or have a little backup supply in my cabinet? I'd have saved a lot of time and trouble and money, but I'm not allowed to be responsible by law. I have to put the responsibility on them. So this is more complicated than it appears. But I guess, the strong get stronger and the weak aren't meant to survive. And I think we got a real problem here with them surviving a little too long with too many benefits. All right. I'm not saying they need to die. I'm just saying we need asylums. But welfare won't allow that. It's a lot more enslaving to pay people to have children that don't need to be having children because they can't take care of themselves. Then they're not responsible. If they're not responsible, the last thing they should ever have is a child to raise. Have a nice day. God bless America.
Answer the phone, Joshua!